Chapter 1 Questions to Think About. The dual process account is very broad but seems to offer a general explanation for many different kinds of thoughts and behaviors. What are some other examples of System 1 thinking? What are some examples of System 2 thinking? System 1 thinking, so that's like the fast, effortless, kind of instinctually, evolutionarily primitive thinking. It's like, right, it's like a gut decision and impulse. What I think is really interesting is when I would like write a paper using System 1 thinking instead of System 2 thinking. Like when you're low on time and you're stressed out, you're basically writing effortlessly, just spewing out whatever you can. And then System 2 thinking is when it's like really well researched, you have all your notes, you're really like compiling it all together, making it into something very structurally sound and correct. And you've been working with the sentence structure. So it's like two ways of doing the same thing. Or like even as example of buying a car, like you could really crunch all the numbers, you could look up like consumer reports, you could like talk to relatives, you could do a lot of internet research, like kind of like how my mom is trying to buy our new car. Or you could, which is more Systems 2. And what the professor did in the textbook was quite Systems 1 thinking for me for getting a car, which is like he just went and then quickly decided to get one. Even though he did crunch a lot of data quickly, like he must have had some competency or something. Like he must have been using past experiences and memories, or else I don't know how he could have done it that quickly. Like I couldn't have done it that quickly because I don't have lots of associations and memories of buying cars. So clearly, prior knowledge for sure. Um, yeah, so more examples of System 2 thinking would be like writing a thesis, planning a trip very thoroughly, um, planning a special date, though you could use more intuitive elements to that. Um, Reading technical information or dealing with very technical information, whereas like System 1 is more like intuitive, almost like more emotional, because that is a less developed part of your brain. Because I think he's talking about the lizard and the mammal brain when he talks about implicit learning or System 1 learning. But yeah, anything that you make into a gut decision is basically coming from System 1. Even like you could choose who to date from a gut reaction, or you could like weigh all the pros and cons, talk to all your friends, evaluate, read books. I've done both. Okay, next question. Multitasking is described as a challenge to the thinking process, but it can also be a benefit. Can you describe some examples of how and why multitasking is beneficial to behavior, as well as some other examples for why it is detrimental? Yeah, I mean, multitasking can be beneficial because if you really truly never multitask, like you just would get less things done in life. And a lot of things can be like done badly. And so if you multitask, you can like do a couple of things badly, or you can do something that's easy and boring while doing something fun because it's already easy. Like you may as well multitask, right? So it like can increase your quality of life to actually like accomplish these things. Like you don't really need to like numbering pages or something. You certainly don't need to really put your whole heart and mind into that. Um, Other benefits of multitasking. I mean, scattered thinking helps you just pull in a lot of information. Um, Detriments of multitasking. It's just, yeah, it's really bad for you cognitively, and then you kind of destroy your ability to like focus on one thing. Like from the experiments show that like you can no longer weed out other information. because you're always queued up for it. And I had that problem after I was a nanny because my attention was like always split to the baby. I always needed to know where they were, always the toddler. So my attention was always split. And then it was very hard to start single tasking again after because that was such a high stakes situation. My brain, I think, really permanently changed to be able to work favorably under multitasking. Um, I've reversed a lot of it now, though. Um, Single tasking will just let you do something really well and use all of your cognitive reserve to sink into one thing. And if you're not distracting yourself with like low level messages or attention or distractions, you really can get into a flow state and you can really get somewhere. You can really get some deep insights and deep knowledge into whatever you're looking at. And that's irreplaceable. And it's possible without the cognitive load being so overwhelming, which is really wonderful. Okay, next question. The smartphone has had some impact on cognition and behavior, but it is not clear if the overall effects have been positive or negative. What are some real and clear benefits that the smartphone has on cognitive processing? What are some real and clear costs that the smartphone has on cognitive processing? Um, I don't know how I can tell whether it's real or clear, but benefits of smartphone on cognitive processing. I mean, he didn't list any, so how would I know? But without researching it, um, smartphone on cognitive processing. I mean, Googling stuff is not cognitive processing. I mean, it gives you the internet gives you access to more information, and if you use that to cognitively process or research well or like understand complex issues, I guess it would give you the like the fuel to do it with, as opposed to spending a bunch of time like finding reference sources at a library or moving to do it. Um, so you can look at more complex issues than just like finding material. Is there another benefit to smartphones on cognitive processing? I mean, I'm sure it impacts like your relationships if you're always in contact with people you care about. Um, that's not cognitive processing, though, is it? Well, if cognitive processing is mental representations, then if your partner is a mental representation, maybe a smartphone is nice because you get frequent low level contact with them now, even if you're working. I know that's had psychological benefits. It wouldn't have benefits with your work cognitions, but it could probably have benefits with your relationship cognitions. Okay, so real and clear costs that the smartphone has in cognitive processing. Okay, so costs the smartphone has in cognitive processing. I mean, it just is horrible for cognitive processing. So, like the textbook said, like it pulls your attention even if you're ignoring it. So it just its existence is cognitively like it's a handicap to your focus. Um, you don't have to do complex cognitive processing to come up with answers using insight like productively instead of reproductively because the internet just comes up with it for you. So you don't even yeah, you don't do reproductive or productive thinking. You do no thinking. Your thinking is to type in the word. So that's pretty wild. So it cuts off both those types of gestalt thinking. Um, Cognitive processing. The smartphone. Let's see if there's another cost I could think of. That seems pretty clear. Like the textbook basically just wants it to be a distraction and says it like it's a distraction, but it has other issues. Um, but yeah, distraction, that's the obvious answer.